네, 안녕하세요. 저희는 대금이 누나 밴드입니다. 반갑습니다. 네, 저희가 첫 번째로 들려드린 곡은 아름다운 나라라는 곡입니다. 우리가 살고 싶은 나라, 우리가 만들고 있는 나라가 아름다운 나라가 아닐까 생각돼서 첫 번째 곡 들려드렸고요. 저희 악기 소리 잘 들리셨나요? 저는 잘 안 들리는 것 같은데 저희 대금과 가야금 마이크 조금만 더 키워주시면 감사하겠습니다. 저희 다음으로 들려드릴 곡은요, 그 대한민국 하면 아리랑이죠. 아리랑. 저희가 각 지역의 아리랑을 묶어서 연결해서 들려드리려고 합니다. 아리랑 들려드리겠습니다. 네, 개회식을 앞두고 저희가 식전 공연으로 준비되었는데요. 마지막 곡을 들려드려야 될 차례입니다. 마지막 곡은요, 요즘 전 세계적으로 열풍이 캐대언의 골든이라는 곡을 저희가 오늘 국악 버전으로 들려드리도록 하겠습니다.
네, 지금 참가하고 계시는 많은 분들께 잠시 안내 말씀 드리겠습니다. 잠시 후 저희 제12회 21세기 인문 가치 포럼 개회식이 진행되겠습니다. 참석자 여러분께서는 자리에 착석해 주시고요. 소지하고 계신 휴대전화는 진동이나 무음으로 전환 부탁드리겠습니다. 오늘의 행사는 한국어와 영어로 동시 통역이
For today's event, we provide simultaneous interpretation. Please tune in to Channel 1 for Korean and Channel 2 for English.
Thank you very much for your attendance this morning. We will be starting shortly. We will be having simultaneous interpretation in Korean and in English. So please use the receivers placed on the tables. Tune into Channel 1 for Korean and Channel 2 for English. 제12회 인문 가치 포럼은 유튜브 생중계로도 진행.
We are streaming this event live on YouTube, so I would like to ask our online participants active participation throughout the session. Thank you.
다시 한번 안내 말씀드립니다.
May I have your attention, please? Soon we are going to begin the 12th 21st Century Human Values Forum. Please take your seat. And please turn your electronic devices into silent or vibration mode. We provide simultaneous interpretation into Korean and English. Channel 1 is for Korean and Channel 2 is for English.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attendance with us this morning. We will be providing simultaneous interpretation for our international guests. Please use the receivers placed on the tables. Tune into Channel 1 for Korean and Channel 2 for English. 네, 그리고 제12회 인문 가치 포럼은 유튜브
We are streaming this event live on YouTube. I would like to ask our online participants active participation. Thank you.
시작하기에 앞서서 다시 한번 안내 말씀드리도록 하겠습니다. 이제 곧 이어서
brief house announcement. Soon we are going to begin the opening ceremony. For those of you who are still outside or who didn't take your seat, please take your seat.
In our opening ceremony, we kindly ask all of our guests to please take their seats. Thank you very much. 다시 한번 안내 말씀드리겠습니다. 함께 해주신 모든
May I have your attention, please? I would like to welcome all our participants to the event. Soon we are going to begin the ceremony. Please take your seat. Thank you for being with us.
We will begin our opening ceremony momentarily. We kindly ask all of our guests to please take your seats. Thank you very much. 네, 여러분 인사드리면서
Let me begin by introducing myself. Good morning, everyone. I am Juyeon Marie Cho, your host for the opening ceremony and keynote session of the 12th 21st Century Human Values Forum. It is so nice to meet you all. We have so many participants in the hall. I would like to thank you for your participation, and I would like to extend my warm welcome. Again, I extend my warm welcome to our participants and distinguished guests from Korea and abroad for joining for the 12th 21st Century Human Values Forum. It is a great honor to share this moment with you here in Andong, the home of Korean spirit, as we reflect on the essence of life and reconnect the relationship between the people and society. For more than a decade, the forum has reflected on the changes of our times through the lens of humanistic values and sought ways for coexistence and mutual prosperity. And today, we are about to begin yet another new chapter in that journey. This year's 12th forum is held under the theme Equilibrium Toward a Fulfilling Life. In a world driven by speed and competition, it invites us to rediscover the balance and harmony we may have lost along the way. Even in this rapidly changing era, may the values of humanistic values continue to serve as a warm force that connects people to one another. We hope that this journey will become a meaningful time for all of you. Now, I declare the opening of the 12th 21st Century Human Values Forum.
Thank you very much. Despite their busy schedules, many distinguished guests have joined us to grace this occasion with their presence. I believe that this will be a truly meaningful gathering where we can all reflect together and experience the true spirit of the 21st Century Human Values Forum. It would be right to introduce each and every one of our esteemed guests by name, but as everyone here today is a valued guest to us, we would like to once again express our heartfelt gratitude in lieu of individual introductions. So, why don't we give each other a big round of applause for our participation? Thank you very much. So now, we would like to introduce Lee Hee-bum, Chairman of the Korea Foundation for Cultures and Ethics, for his opening remarks. We did a thorough check before the opening, but because there's a lot of people, it seems like the mic is nervous itself. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for being here and welcome to the 12th 21st Century Human Values Forum. I'd like to first of all thank each and every one of you and welcome all of you for being here today. So first, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to President Lee Jae-myung for sending his congratulatory message despite his busy schedule. Also, I believe that there is somebody on behalf of him that will read the congratulatory remarks. We were supposed to have the a very esteemed guest from Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism. I'd like to thank the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism as well as Gyeongsangbuk-do Province, as well as Mayor Kwon Ki-chang of Andong City and Jung Dong-won, Kim Hee-dong, the two mayors who have designed this forum. And of course, I'd like to thank Dr. Jim Yong Kim, the 12th President of the World Bank, a world scholar from Korea working for philanthropy and for the world. And also, my deep respect and appreciation goes to Chairman Koo Soo-hwan of the Lee Tae-seok Foundation, as well as Amore Pacific Foundation. So the starting point of today's gathering lies in our shared awareness of the growing polarization and inequality that our society faces. While technologies such as AI and ChatGPT have brought us great convenience, they have also cast shadows of conflict, division, alienation, and inequality. Economic disparity, intergenerational conflict, and ideological divisions are all forms of polarization that ultimately drive us further away from the happiness we seek. Excessive competition, selfishness, and materialism have accelerated the speed of life, but in doing so, they have made us lose our sense of direction. What our society needs today is not greater speed, but the ability to restore balance and harmony. In this spirit, this year's forum is held under the theme Equilibrium Towards a Fulfilling Life. We aim to explore the wisdom of moderation that leads us beyond extremes towards harmony. And today, towards a conversation between Dr. Yong Kim, who has consistently raised awareness of mental health issues in Korean society, and Professor Chun Hyun, as well as discussions with experts from diverse fields, will take time to reflect on the balance of our inner lives and emotions. Also, under the themes of local and humanistic cities, we seek new possibilities for regions, communities, and the world to connect and collaborate through the lens of humanism. And this forum also carries forward the spirit of the APEC summit held last week in Gyeongju. As young people from around the world gather here to share their visions and challenges for a sustainable future. So through this forum, may we rekindle the light of human values and moral integrity, and may it serve as a small candle illuminating the path from a society that merely prospers to one that is truly happy. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. May peace, harmony, and genuine happiness accompany you in all your endeavors. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairman Lee Hee-bum. A lot of people are here gracing us with their presence. As he said, maybe the mic got a bit nervous. We ask for your understanding. As the chairman highlighted, we hope that this forum will act as a first step to make sure that we become a happy country.
성공적인
Moving on, to celebrate the successful opening of this event, President Lee Jae-myung has sent a congratulatory message. Although the president could not be with us in person today, he has expressed his deep support for the purpose of this forum and sent his warm greetings. The message will be delivered on behalf of the president by Deputy Minister Lee Jung-woo from the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism. Please give him a big round of applause. I am Deputy Minister for Culture, Sports and Tourism. President Lee couldn't come here due to budget deliberation session, so I'll read on behalf of the President. I send my heartfelt congratulations on the 12th 21st Century Human Values Forum. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Jim Yong Kim, former president of World Bank, for delivering his keynote address, and to all the distinguished scholars from Korea and abroad for sharing their valuable insights, and to everyone who worked tirelessly to prepare this forum. Humanity today enjoys an era of rapid economic growth and remarkable technological advancement, yet we are also facing serious challenges: social disconnection, conflict, imbalance, and polarization. It is truly meaningful that this forum seeks fundamental solutions to these pressing issues through the wisdom and reflection of the humanities. The humanities possess the power to build a better community by exploring the essence of human values and deepening our understanding of others. As technology advances and the pace of change accelerates, the humanities serve as a compass, reminding us of the core values and direction we must never lose sight of in life. The theme of today's forum, Equilibrium Toward a Fulfilling Life, ultimately asks us what kind of society we wish to create and how we will move toward it. I hope that your thoughtful discussions and insights today will help heal divisions in our society and guide us toward a happier and more harmonious community. The government will continue to strive to build an inclusive society centered on people, a warm community where no one is left behind. We will spare no effort in providing policy support so that all citizens may lead a life of dignity and share in truly happy Korea for all. Once again, I sincerely congratulate you on the successful opening of this forum, and I hope it will serve as a platform to realize a balanced and harmonious society through the power of humanistic values. I wish good health and happiness to you all. Thank you. 2025, November 7th, President Lee Jae-myung. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to President Lee Jae-myung for sending his warm message of encouragement and sharing his vision for a happy Korea for all. And also, I would like to thank Deputy Minister Lee Jung-woo for reading that out loud.
위해서 이철우 경
Next, we'll hear a warm congratulatory message from Governor Lee Cheol-woo of Gyeongsangbuk-do Province, who has kindly sent us his greetings via video. Governor Lee has been a steadfast supporter of the Human Values Forum and has steadily encouraged the promotion of humanistic spirit and culture.
경상북도 도지사
Hello everyone, I am Governor of Gyeongsangbuk-do Province. I would like to congratulate the opening of the 21st Century Human Values Forum 2025 opening in Andong, the capital of Korean spiritual culture. I'd like to thank Lee Hee-bum, Chairman, as well as Andong City Mayor Kwon Gi-chang, and all other relevant officials for their effort in hosting this forum. Going forward, as technology advances, it's important for humans to engage in creative activities, enjoying culture, life, and sports. The more creative a sector is, human values and human insights will become a competitive factor all the more. Gyeongbuk has always steadfastly supported human values and supported K-culture. Through the wisdom and insight that we gain in this forum, we hope that it will act as a stepping stone for us to head into the future. Based on our successful APEC forum hosting, we will keep on preparing for the future so that Gyeongbuk can become the capital of world culture. I truly hope that knowledge and minds will be thought of in this forum. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Governor Lee Cheol-woo of Gyeongsangbuk-do Province.
자, 이어서는
Next, we will take a moment to recognize and express our gratitude to those who have dedicated themselves to promoting a humanities-based spiritual culture in the 21st century. Now, let us begin the Human Values Award ceremony. So let's watch a short video clip. 2025 Human Values Awards were established in 2021 to discover and share exemplary cases from both the public and private sectors that contribute to the creation of humanities-based spiritual culture. The organization category honors corporation, institutions, and organizations that have established systematic humanity value activity systems and led initiative to enhance the quality of life for individuals and communities. And the individual category is awarded to social activists, educators, researchers, professionals, and cultural and artistic figures who have played a pioneering role in promoting humanistic values. The Human Values Award stands with those who help build a warm and compassionate society.
네, 오늘 시상
The award will be presented first to the organization category grand prize, followed by the individual category grand prize. For the 2025 Human Values Forum, the presentation will be made by Mr. Lee Jung-woo, Deputy Minister of Culture, Sports and Tourism, and on behalf of the minister, we have Choi Hee-young and Mayor Kwon Gi-chang as well.
네, 그럼 단체 부문
First is organizational category grand prize. And the winner of this award is Amorev Pacific Foundation, recognized for its continuous public interest initiative that have made humanistic values an integral part of everyday culture. The award will be given by Mr. Kim Tae-woo. Amore Pacific Foundation has been highly commended for its dedication to exploring the social meaning of beauty, supporting research in humanities and culture, and consistently engaging in diverse social contribution projects. Director General Lee Jung-woo will present the award. Certificate of Award, Organization Category, Grand Prize, Amore Pacific Foundation. In recognition of its distinguished contribution and continued dedication to the promotion of human values, this organization has been selected as the Grand Prize winner of 2025 Human Values Award. 2025, November 7th, Minister Choi Hui-young of Culture, Sports and Tourism. Congratulations. Mayor Kwon Ki-chang of Andong City will present the prize board and flower bouquet. Once again, congratulations. As this is the grand prize, we need to take a photo together. Please stand at the center. Please give Amore Pacific a big round of applause. Congratulations. And there are many flower bouquets presented to the winner. Let's take a photo together.
활짝 웃어주시면 감사하겠습니다. 네, 축하드립니다.
Congratulations. Now you may go back to your seat. And Mayor and Deputy Director, please remain on stage. I can see a big smile on the winner's face. I guess he is really happy to receive that prize. It's so good. Let's move on. We will proceed with the individual category for the Human Values Award. Again, Deputy Minister and Mayor will grant the prize. The grand prize in an individual category is given to the one who has embodied human values in his life and shared hope with the world through the spirit of love and giving. And the prize is given to Mr. Koo Soo-hwan, Chairman of Lee Tae-seok Foundation. Chairman Koo directed the documentary Don't Cry for Me Sudan, which tells the story of the late Father Lee Tae-seok. He has carried forward Father Lee's legacy by living out the values of love and compassion. Certificate of Award, Individual Category, Grand Prize, Koo Soo-hwan, in recognition of his outstanding achievements and dedication to advancing human values. This individual has been selected as the Grand Prize winner of the 2025 Human Values Award. 2025, November 7th, Minister Choi Hui-young of Culture, Sports and Tourism. Congratulations. Again, Mayor Kwon Ki-chang will now present the prize and the bouquet. Congratulations. And again, there's one more flower bouquet given to the winner. Again, congratulations. Let us take a photo together. Please look at the camera. Please give them a big round of applause. Please put on a big smile. Thank you. Thank you. Now you may go back to your seat. Thank you for being with us. Mayor Kwon Ki-chang, Deputy Minister Lee Jung-woo, once again, thank you.
이렇게 우리 삶 곳곳에서
So I believe that we're meeting people who are already putting the values of humanities into practice into their daily lives, and it makes me all the more excited about the conversations that we'll have in the forum. So now we have prepared a special moment. I believe everyone here will be able to relate to it, but our society is changing rapidly, yet in keeping up with the speed, we sometimes lose sense of direction. We keep running forward without a pause. And we lose the time to look around, and we lose the balance and harmony in our lives. So, in this segment, we wish to reflect together through video, performances, and artistic expressions on the various imbalances and conflicts that our society faces and on the message of recovery and coexistence that the values of humanities can offer. The upcoming performance is a piece that weaves together the narrative the 12th 21st Century Human Values Forum seeks to convey. Equilibrium towards a fulfilling life. Let us begin the journey together now.
오늘은 이상한 꿈을 꾸었다.
Today I dreamt a very peculiar dream.
먼지가 가득했고
There was gray dust
나무는
in the
숨을
sky,
참는 것 같았다.
and it seems like trees were holding their breaths.
모두가 자기 목소리만 크게 내서
Everyone
아무
was just
말도
raising their own
들리지
voice,
않는다.
and nobody could hear each other.
꿈속의 흑백 세상은
In my dream, everything was
너무
gray.
슬펐다.
It was such a sad world.
아이의 꿈속 흑백 세상.
The child's dream of a black and white world may in fact be a reflection of the reality we live in. The world is changing too fast, and as everyone keeps running and rushing forward, we are gradually losing our sense of balance. Social polarization. I'll do my best. Thank you. That's enough. Kids these days, the gap between generations continues to deepen. The disparity in education is widening simply because of where people live. And social polarization is no longer just an individual issue, but a structural one. Even now, there are still places that discriminate based on gender when doing job hiring. The gap between the rich and the poor has reached its worst level in 11 years. Our thoughts are just too different. Our selfishness has come to be accepted as a natural right, and as a result, our society has become divided in two. A world where balance has collapsed. Conflict has grown to the point of threatening even the survival of humanity. So then, what kind of a world do we dream of? Right, young people these days must be having such a hard time. I mean, competition is just so fierce. Indeed, we have to understand each other. Share what we learn. Share warmth. And though our ways of living may differ, we may all be dreaming of the same world. Balance and harmony, the conditions for a happy life. Under the theme Equilibrium Towards a Fulfilling Life, the 12th 21st Century Human Values Forum seeks to go beyond binary conflicts and explore diverse paths towards restoring balance through deep reflections on what is right and wrong, a world of balance and harmony, a sustainable humanity. The 12th 21st Century Human Values Forum stands at the very starting point.
다시 한번
A big round of applause, please. What a beautiful performance. The pure, innocent voices of our children came together to create this gentle renaissance that moved our hearts deeply. In our children's voices, we could once again feel the beginning of hope. The black and white world from the child's diary reflected the reality that we live in today. A time when everyone's voices grow louder, yet we have lost the willingness to listen to one another. But through this performance, we were reminded that warmth, understanding, and the desire for harmony still lives within us. So as the video and the choir conveyed, it is through the values of the humanities that we can transcend conflict and division, rediscovering the strength that allows us to understand one another and breathe together again. Only when people are connected with each other, with society, and with nature can we truly regain balance and create a harmonious kind of happiness. So now we will take a moment to light the flame of hope together. So the next part of the program is a special performance to mark the official opening of the 12th 21st Century Human Values Forum. As I call out your names, our distinguished guests are kindly invited to come up to the stage. First of all, we have Lee Hee-bum, Chairman of Korea Foundation for Cultures and Ethics, Kim Kyung-do, Chairman of Andong City Council. Next, we have Kim Kyung-soo, President of Seoul Andong Hometown Association. Next, we have Maso Takashi, Mayor of Kamakura. Next, we have Lee Jung-woo, Deputy Minister for Culture, Sports, Culture and Arts Policy, Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism. Next, we have Kim Hyung, 12th President of the World Bank, Chun Hun, former President of International Taegehak Association, Kim Byung-gun, Director of Culture, Sports and Tourism, Bureau of Gyeongsangbuk-do Province, Chung Tae-ju, President of Gyeongguk National University, Kwon Gi-chang, Mayor of Andong City. Please come forward. So all our guests are now up on the stage. Joining them for this special performance are some very other special participants, the young members of our Teroa choir, who earlier moved us with their beautiful voices of hope. Now each one of our choir members are holding on to something. What is it? It's the light of hope. Now the children will pass on the lights of hope to our distinguished guests. Thank you very much. A handshake maybe. And the choir members will now go back to their seats. So these lights, these orbs, are now held by our guests. Once I give 1, 2, 3 out loud, please put these orbs on top of the 21st Century Human Values Forum banner. A step forward, please. Not yet, actually. Just a moment. Now, all participants, all ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask you to shout out 1, 2, 3 with me. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Please place the flames of hope together. Thank you very much. The light of harmony illuminated by the values of humanities now fills the stage. Just as these different colors blend into one radiant light, our world too will welcome warmer and more beautiful become more beautiful when we learn to understand and care for one another. Thank you very much. We will take a group photo. Please remain on the stage. Now, once again, our Deroa choir will be on the stage. So, we will sing together with one unified voice through the next performance. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now, with one unified voice, join in harmony to celebrate a beautiful world. You will see the lyrics on the screen, so I'd like to ask everyone here to join in and sing along with the choir.
외롭다 느낄 때 하늘을 봐요. 같은 태양 아래 있어요. 우리 강아예요. 마주치는 눈빛으로 안 들어가요. 따뜻한 기운에 불러요. 사랑의 노래를 작은 가슴마다 고운 사랑 모아 우리 함께 만들어가요. 아름다운 세상 혼자서 이룰 수 없죠. 세상 무엇도 아주 작은 두 손으로 사랑을 키워요. 함께 있기에 아름다운 안개꽃처럼 서로를 웃게 감싸줘요. 모두 여기 모여 작은 가슴마다 고운 사랑 모아 우리 함께 만들어가요. 아름다운 세상.
작은 가슴마다 고운 사랑 모아 우리 함께 만들어가요. 아름다운 세상.
작은 가슴마다 고운 사랑 모아 우리 함께 만들어가요. 아름다운 세상. 작은 가슴마다 고운 사랑 모아 우리 함께 만들어가요. 아름다운 세상.
우리 함께 만들어가요.
아름다운 세상.
다시 한번
Once again, please give them a big round of applause.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you. Now you may now go back to your seat. We have sang along A Beautiful World. Just like the lyrics and the title of the song, A Beautiful World, I hope that we renew our commitment to make a beautiful world from now on, not in a distant future. Please give our choir a big round of applause once again.
네, 정리를 한 이후에
After we organize the stage, we will have a keynote session that many of you may be waiting to hear. So we will next proceed with the keynote session of the Human Values Forum. And for the keynote session, we will invite Mr. Dr. Jim Yong Kim, the 12th president of the World Bank, who has been at the forefront of global health. And he has contributed his life to the philanthropic projects and programs. And he has served as a co-founder of Partner in Health. And later on, he worked as a Director General for HIV/AIDS Project and Dean at Dartmouth University, and again, 12th President of the World Bank. He contributed a lot to solving human challenges, for example, poverty and health, and he suggested solutions based on human values. Today, Dr. Jim Yong Kim will deliver a speech titled Human Values in a Divided World. And he will share insight into the meaning of balance and solidarity that our era has lost. As we have prepared the stage,
Come to the stage with a big round of applause. 큰 박수로 모시겠습니다.
Good morning, everybody. 안녕하십니까? 제가 5살 때 미국에
So I actually immigrated to the US when I was 5, so excuse my Korean and I always speak in English.
here. I'm very grateful to Chairman Lee Ki-bum for inviting me. And as I listened to the words this morning that came out of this forum, it struck me that the tension between so many different factions in the world today is exactly sort of the life I've been living for a long time. And so today, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got to where I am, but then also talk a little bit about what I have been finding here in Korea over the last few years that is both exhilarating and encouraging, but also worrisome in some ways. This is me. Let's see. Yeah. And this is when I was about 4 years old. And I was born in Korea. My older brother, Bill Hoon, was born in New York. But my sister and I were born here at Severance Hospital in Seoul. And we lived in Shincheon, where my mother was a professor at Ewha University, and my father was a dental professor both at Seoul National and Yonsei. And this is where we started. The two people, the older people, were my great-grandfather and great-grandmother, who we were very close to. Now, at the time that picture was taken, officially, Korea was deemed a country that was too poor to receive a World Bank loan. They said Korea would find it difficult without foreign aid to provide its people with more than the bare necessities of life. I went back and looked at some of the documents about Korea at this time in 1960, 61, 62. And they basically said, look, Korea is a basket case. There's no way that they'll ever be able to pay back any loans, and it would be unwise to give them a loan now because there's not enough economic activity for them to pay it back. So in this context, we moved to the United States, and soon after we moved to the United States, the World Bank gave its first loan to Korea for a highway. But then the next loan in 1968 was for education. And again, within the World Bank, they ridiculed Korea for taking money for education, when in fact what they should have done is invest in more infrastructure. So in the period that was very difficult, my parents decided to move us to the United States. And of course, the idea was that we were going to give us, the children, an opportunity to attend better schools and have a life that maybe would go beyond what we could have hoped for in Korea. Now, I show you this picture. It's a university that I spent a lot of time in, both as a student and a professor. But I want to tell you a story about my father, which in so many ways describes the life that I've led up to now. So I first went away to school at Brown University. And on my first semester home from Brown University, I flew back. We were living in Iowa at the time. First flew back, and my father picked me up at the airport. And he kind of casually said to me, "So, Jim, what do you want to study? What did you decide at Brown?" And having been influenced by both my mother and my uncle, Mr. Chan Han, who's going to be talking with me a bit later, I said to my father, who was a dentist, among the most practical people on the face of the earth. Dentists are very practical people. I said to my father, "Well, Dad, I got really excited about the Asian American movement and other movements that are so powerful at the time in the 1980s. So I think I'm going to study political science and philosophy and become a part of a movement." So my father slowly pulled the car over to the side of the road. He looked back at me, and I think if he were speaking Korean, at the time I didn't speak any Korean at all. If he were speaking Korean, I think he would have looked at me and said, "Yeah, 이 건방진 새끼야." He said something that it really defined the rest of my life. He said, "Look, go to medical school, and then after you finish your residency, you can study anything you want." And so it was this conflict between science and practicality, and also the sense, my mother being a Taege and Chushi scholar, my uncle being a theologian and a philosopher, that I've tried to balance for my entire life. And it turned out that having moral clarity around how we apply the tools that we were learning in the science of medicine was the defining defining tension of my entire life. I went to medical school. I was so fortunate to get into a program where I was allowed to study both medicine and anthropology at the same time. And I met these two amazing people, Ophelia Dahl and Paul Farmer. Paul and I were in the same MD, PhD, a medical degree along with a PhD in anthropology. And I just want to pay tribute to my professor, Kim Kwang-ok 선생님, who was part of the anthropology department here at Seoul National University when I first came back, because I decided that I was going to study the Korean healthcare system as part of my dissertation. But I met these two, and Paul asked me. So here we were, two young men receiving both an MD degree and a PhD in anthropology from Harvard University, and we had a full scholarship to do it. He said to me, he said, "Jim, with our ridiculously elaborate educations, what's the nature of our responsibility to the rest of the world?" And so that question defined our work together. Really, this was when I was about, in my late 20s, for the next 40 years. Given all that we were receiving, what was the nature of our responsibility to the rest of the world? For Paul and Ophelia, they started out in Haiti. Many of you may not know, but Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And it has been racked by violence and coup d'etat, and right now it's essentially a failed state. Gangs and literally criminals have taken over the running of the country, and it's a place of just enormous poverty, wonderful, fantastic, caring people, but it has been troubled. And so Paul decided that he and Ophelia were going to go down and they were going to begin a healthcare project in Haiti. And it was actually in the poorest part of Haiti, which was the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And the moral foundation, Paul is Catholic, the moral foundation he took, and we eventually all took, came from the Catholic Church. If any of you have been reading the things that have been coming out of the Vatican, Pope Leo actually spent a lot of time in Peru, where I've also worked, and I'll talk to you about it in a bit. But Pope Leo has talked about what he called a preferential option for the poor. That comes from the teachings of the Catholic priests in Latin America, who themselves asked a very fundamental question. Their question was, if Jesus were in Latin America today, where would he be? Would he be with the generals and the oligarchs and the powerful, wealthy people who ruled their countries, or would he be with the poor? And their reading of Scripture was very clear. There's no question that he would have chosen to be with the poor. And so this term, preferential option for the poor, is very specific. The reason they call it a preferential option for the poor is they're saying, hey, we love everybody. We're Christians, we're priests, we love everybody. But we have a preference for the poor. We're going to focus on tackling poverty. We're going to focus on asking questions about why is there so much poverty? Why do some people have so much and others have so little? And so we took that idea, built this organization, and we had Jewish members of Partners in Health. We had Muslim members of Partners in Health. This wasn't a religious organization, but we rallied around the concept that with our ridiculously elaborate trainings, and many of the people at Partners in Health were physicians, with our training, can we make a preferential option for the poor in healthcare? What would that mean? And we decided that what it would mean is that we had an obligation to provide the best possible quality of care to the poorest people. That was the founding principle at Partners in Health. And again, going back to what my father told me, it was a marriage of scientific knowledge, practical skill, with a clear moral vision. In fact, Paul used to talk about AMCs, AMC. He talked about finding areas of moral clarity. And it wasn't easy, it wasn't straightforward. We had to think through lots of different authors and ideas. But the area of moral clarity that we focused on was when we encounter the sick in settings of extreme poverty, it is our moral responsibility to do everything we can. So, excuse me just one second. After Haiti, I went to this very poor area in Peru. After, you know, I didn't relearn Korean until I was about 25 years old, and then at about 29 years old, I started learning Spanish. So we went to this community called Caraballo, a very poor community in the outskirts of the capital, Lima. And we thought we would do fairly straightforward public health projects. But then we stumbled upon patients like Melquiades. Melquiades had been suffering from tuberculosis for many years, and he had been treated and treated and treated again in a program in Peru, which was one of the best in the world. It was a really good TB program, but he kept being treated over and over and over again and not getting better. And when we met him, we immediately thought, oh my goodness, Melquiades must have drug-resistant tuberculosis. Because if you keep treating people over and over again and they're not getting better, the overwhelming likelihood is that the tuberculosis that they are infected with has developed resistance to the drugs that you're giving. And so the only way to treat people like Melquiades is to get the so-called second-line drugs, other drugs that go beyond the capacity or the pharmacy of programs like in Peru. And so we then, in the community of Caraballo, we found 50 patients in one city that had drug-resistant tuberculosis. And so in scientific terms, in medical terms, that's an outbreak. It was an actual outbreak. People were getting infected inside their homes. The ones who were sick were infecting the ones who were healthy. It was an outbreak. It was an emergency that we felt we had to respond to. But then here's what we found. Again, I just want to emphasize, this is where the clarity of our own moral purpose was so helpful. The World Health Organization had officially declared that drug-resistant tuberculosis in poor countries was untreatable. They said it was impossible to do. In developing countries, people with multi-drug-resistant tuberculosis usually die because effective treatment is often impossible in poor countries. MDR-TB, they said, drug-resistant TB is too expensive to treat in poor countries. It detracts attention and resources from treating drug-susceptible disease. Right, so this is coming from the World Health Organization. So this was gospel in global health circles. The Peruvian authorities were the darlings of the World Health Organization because they had been running a very good program. And so when we found these 50 patients, and when we started saying to the authorities, there's 50 patients in one community, there's going to be a lot more in your city, we need to start treating them. Right? What we thought would happen was we thought they would say, well, thank you so much for your concern, but we really appreciate that you're trying to help us, but we think you shouldn't do it. That's not what they said. They said to us, if you treat a single patient, we will kick you out of the country. Right? So it was a very aggressive response. And that was exactly the time we thought, okay, this is the fight that we've been waiting for. So if you look at the statement, part of it says the drugs are too expensive, right? But in a meeting with all the different tuberculosis experts, I asked them a very simple question. You say the drugs are expensive, but do you know if the drugs are generic, off-brand, off-patent, or are they branded and on patent so that makes them expensive, right? So this is just the most fundamental thing that you have to ask, because if they're not on brand, if they're not patented still, you can make them for much, much cheaper in places like China and India. And so I asked these people, these were the people at WHO, World Health Organization, who made this policy, who declared this death sentence on all people in poor countries living with MDR-TB. I asked them, do you know if the drugs are patented or not? And they said, we don't know. They didn't know. They declared a death sentence on all poor people with tuberculosis, drug-resistant tuberculosis, without ever checking to see if the drugs were on patent or off patent. Right? And so Paul used to talk about this as the fecklessness of the global health elite. And so we learned something very important, right? Partly because they did not bring a moral vision to their science, they overlooked a really fundamental issue. And it was okay to overlook that issue because they were just dealing with poor people. And we had decided that we were going to make a preferential option for the poor and not ignore the needs of the poor. So when I was in Korea, I had studied the drug industry, the yakuks, in Korea, and I I knew a lot about drug manufacturing, and I declared to them, I said to the officials, look, we're going to reduce the prices, and we're going to do it quickly, and we'll show you that price should not be an obstacle. So in about 4 or 5 months, we reduced the prices of those drugs by 90%. 90%. It was not difficult. And so this lesson was so powerful because what we understood was that people would bring science to the table, but because they were not focused on what that science meant for the poorest of the poor, they would overlook fundamental issues and declare death sentences without a second thought. Powerful lesson, probably the most powerful lesson in my life about why you need to bring science and moral clarity together. So this is Melquiades. We've got the drugs. We started treating him. And then I didn't see him for 15 years. And then when we had a World Bank meeting in Lima, he came to see me and he looked like this. He then became, he was an accountant. He was working, he had children, he was doing great. And soon after, we were successful in getting the death sentence removed in the I think it was around the year 2000. Then we looked around and we thought, oh my gosh, can we do this in other disease processes? And these are the activists who really pushed hard for access to HIV therapy. And among those activists, many of them were saying, now in 1996, 1998, we have the best drugs that we've made in a long time, and they are transforming the care of HIV. But what we found is exactly the same thing, exactly the same thing. The World Health Organization and everyone else in the global health world said that it is impossible to treat HIV in developing countries. And I'm going to show you a video, and I hope the translation can keep up. But the person who's testifying before Congress in the United States is the head of the U.S. Agency for International Development. This is the man in charge of all overseas activities, including whether or not they should treat HIV in developing countries. And this is what he said at his congressional testimony. We don't have volume? Okay. So, all right, sorry. Let me just tell you what he said. What he said was, and he's not a physician, what he said was, you can't treat HIV in developing countries because you have to take some of these pills 5 times a day, which was not true. He said, and Africans have no sense of time. They know morning, they know noon, they know dark of night. But if you tell them, for example, to take a medicine at 10 o'clock, they'll say to you, what's 10 o'clock, right? And so, first of all, having spent a lot of time in Africa, I knew that he was wrong, right? But he justified not treating people for HIV in Africa by saying that they had no sense of time, which is just completely not true. In fact, he had just visited an African country, and the representatives from that country said, after he said this, it was on all the newspapers, the African hosts of Mr. Natsios, the chairman, the African host said, well, it's very interesting that Mr. Natsios says that we can't tell time because he was the only one who was late for every meeting with us. So again, taking science without moral clarity, what he was saying, what they were all saying at that time was, if you have HIV and you're living in a poor country, sorry, you're dead. There are medicines that can keep you alive for such a long time. But sorry, we don't think it's possible. It's too complicated. It's too expensive. Sorry, you're all dead. And so I was going around again, with the Partners in Health idea in mind, I was saying, look, if we do not treat the 25 million people in Africa who are living with HIV, we will stand by passively as a genocide occurs. These countries will just collapse if we don't treat it. But they were saying, oh, come on, you're being unreasonable, it's not possible. And so, in Haiti, we started treating the patients with HIV drugs. This is Joseph June, who came to us suffering from both tuberculosis and HIV. And we started treating him for both, and a few months later, he looked like this. So we call this, thank you for clapping, whoever did. We call this the Lazarus effect of HIV treatment. And soon after, I became the head of the HIV department at the World Health Organization because my very good friend had become Director General, Dr. Lee Jong-wook, an amazing hero. And he asked me to come run the HIV department. We put Joseph June's before and after pictures in the most important report coming out of the World Health Organization. And I started a movement called 3x5. We decided, okay, we're not going to argue about whether it's treatable or not. We're going to set a target, we're going to go. And so we created this movement. There was so much controversy, and people, again, it wasn't that they were saying, okay, let's try, maybe it'll be okay. They were screaming and yelling at us, saying it's not possible to do. From a scientific perspective, it's not possible to do. And I was saying back to them, but from a moral perspective, we have no choice. We cannot sit by as 25 million people die. And again, they said, you can't do it because the drugs are too expensive. So we created, inside the World Health Organization, a program to find generic versions, low-cost versions of HIV drugs in India and China. And we brought the price down again, not just 90%, but almost 99%. We brought the price from $12,000 per patient per year down to $70 per patient per year. So now in Africa and around the world, almost 30 million people are on HIV treatment. We didn't do all of it, but our organization, Partners in Health, played a big role in getting to this number. Unfortunately, it's being threatened now, but as the World Bank president, I can tell you that if we had not treated HIV in Africa, the economy of sub-Saharan Africa, I think, would have collapsed. So I hope this doesn't happen now. But the point I want to make is these were such important life lessons for me that if you don't marry moral clarity, moral vision with science, you're going to make some big mistakes. And the mistakes will impact the poorest because the poor don't really have a voice at these global meetings where all this is decided. Now, I took some detours after that. I was named president of Dartmouth College, and frankly, it was a lot of it had to do with the work that I had done in HIV. I was there for just 3 years, and then I got a phone call from the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States, who was a friend of mine, a Dartmouth graduate, and he asked me if I would come and see President Obama to interview for a job to be president of the World Bank. And so I told Tim Geithner, the secretary, I said, you know, I've written a book that said the World Bank should be closed. And he said, yeah, we know, we've read it. But he said, come down and see President Obama anyway. So I did. We talked. He questioned me. And at the end, he decided that he was going to nominate me to be president of the World Bank. And Hillary Clinton's there because she's the one who actually put my name on the table. I've been working with President Clinton and Secretary Clinton on these issues of healthcare in Africa. So it took over the World Bank. The World Bank had a great vision, which was our dream is a world free of poverty. And so we set targets for the end of poverty. Of course, COVID threw all that off, but it was a wonderful job. I continued to try to bring together moral clarity with science. And it was an amazing experience because I got to go to meetings like this all the time, right? And I think this is one of the first meetings because I didn't know that you were supposed to wave like this, and so I'm the only one not waving. But Prime Minister of Australia, Chancellor Merkel from Germany, President Erdogan, President Obama, and of course my great 선배님, Ban Ki-moon. These were the sort of ceremonial things that were part of the job. But really, I went there to see if we could really put an end to poverty. This is what I found. The most disturbing thing that I found, I think, was that everyone, everywhere, if they didn't have their own smartphone, they had access to smartphones. And they would look at these smartphones and they could see how everyone else lived, especially the rich people. And everywhere I went, aspirations were high. And I had the experience, of course, of going to Africa many times and meeting with heads of state and heads of government. And the question they always asked me was, hey, you're from Korea. How can we go through the same experience that the Koreans did? The Prime Minister of Ethiopia, when I went to see him, his first question to me was, what do you know about Semaul Undong? And luckily, I was an anthropologist of Korea, so I had studied Semaul Undong. But he said, we in Ethiopia, we think we can follow the Korean model. Right? We think we can go from being poor agrarian to fully industrialized in a short period of time. And so it was a source of great pride for me, always talking about Korea's great successes. But then after I left the World Bank, the Korean government asked me to help them to think about some of the major issues going on in Korea. And I'm very embarrassed to admit it, but I just didn't know the data. I didn't know what the science was telling us about Korea. So the suicide rate, of course, I'm sorry, you can't really see this well, but the suicide rate is the highest in OECD, and it's been the highest in OECD for long. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows that the suicide rate is high. But every year, some of the data seems to get worse. Now it's the leading cause of death in Korea for people from grade school all the way into their 40s. And the suicide rate among people, among the elderly, is higher today in Korea than it was in the concentration camps in World War II. Higher in Korea than it was in the concentration camps in World War II. The prevalence of depression. The estimates are that Korea has by far the highest rates of depression in OECD. At the same time, Korea has the lowest rate of treatment for depression. There is no access or very little access to treatment for depression. Only the suspected prevalence of depression is over 25%, but the percentage of people who are getting treated is 2 or 3%, right? So the science, again, is very disturbing. If you look at birth rates, right? Well, again, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but in 2023, Korea had the lowest birth rate, 0.72, the lowest birth rate ever recorded in human history for an entire nation state, right? And you hear stories now all the time in the Western press. Last year was the first year that anyone can recall in history where a country sold more pet strollers than they sold baby strollers. So people are choosing to have pets instead of babies. Now, again, I'm not judging. These are complicated issues, but I want to say that this is what the science is telling us. And so, again, putting on my World Bank hat, when I was born in 1959, the population of Korea was 25 million people, and there were 1 million children born the year that I was born. 1 million. Today, the population of Korea is 53 million, more than double the population when I was born. And the birth rate over the last few years has been the number of births has been about 200,000. So we have double the population, but the births are 1/5 what they were when I was born. Right? I can tell you economically, this is just not viable. Once the cohort that came through this very low birth rate scenario gets to the wage earning level, there is not going to be enough money to support the pensions, the pension services. Now, a lot of people say, well, we can be creative, and that would be great. But if the pension system collapses in Korea, you're going to add to already the highest rate of poverty among people over 65 in all of the OECD. In Korea, more than 40% of people over 65 are living under the Korean poverty line. Now, I just want to point out, you can't see this, but the Pew Charitable Trust did a survey. A very simple question: what's most important to you? And in all of the countries, all of the other countries, it's family, and then the next is usually occupation. Korea is the only country in all of the survey that said that material well-being was the top priority. Now, once again, I'm just presenting to you now the data. This is what the data tells us about what's going on in Korea today. So for me, the real question is, how can we do anything about this? What is to be done? How can we possibly respond to something that seems so overwhelming? And so Korea is famous for, at certain times, responding with great unity, great enthusiasm. So this is of course after during the World Cup, when Korea went to the semifinals. What an amazing time. But I would say this: any country can get excited and feel unified around a football team. Right? Any country can do that. And when you get excited and come together around a very happy event, Nobel Prize or whatever, any country can do that. But Korea has shown that in times of great distress, of enormous problems, of enormous challenges, it can also come together. These are pictures from the Gummogi Undong, the gold collection movement. And my staff at the World Bank in 2012, 2013, I asked them, because we were facing the Greek economic crisis, I said, what's the sort of best reaction you've ever seen of a country to a financial crisis? And they said, oh, no question, Korea. And they gave me all their information about the gold collection movement, Gummogi Undong. And this is when, the Korean people here, I'm sure probably know this better than me, but people just came to the treasury, came to different places and gave their gold and silver. And some people say, well, it wasn't that significant, but that's not what I learned. Over $3 billion were collected. It was sent directly to the IMF, and it helped to shorten the time in which Korea repaid the loans. So this is one of the greatest acts of solidarity, of human solidarity, of national solidarity that anyone in the World Bank had ever heard of. So Koreans are capable of it. But then I also understand that something happened during the IMF during that time. Something happened to this culture. And then many people say that this is when the split started happening. So I'm going to stop here because we're going to have a conversation with my uncle. But I just want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. Sometimes here in Korea, when I talk about suicide, depression, lack of access, elderly poverty, when I talk about those issues, there are people even in Korea who say, but what can you do? You can't do anything about it. I just want to tell you a little story about possibility. about how to think about possibility. So every time I went to a developing country, I would go to school. And this is me in Tanzania. And then usually when I go to these schools, I ask them a pretty straightforward question. I say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And so this boy stood up, raised his hand, and said, I want to be president of the World Bank. Right? And I hear some laughing, because that's what everybody did. You can see the teachers and others were just laughing. And I stopped them. And I said, back in 1962, before Korea got any World Bank loans, that was me. And I was at that time going to preschool near Shincheon. And I forget which preschool it was, but I was going to preschool. And I told them, if George David Woods, who was president of the World Bank at that time, when I was that age, it's completely plausible that he would have come to Korea to see, hey, maybe Korea can get a World Bank loan. And it's completely plausible that he, like me, would have gone to a school. He could have gone to my preschool. And what I told the people in Tanzania was, do you think that president of the World Bank in my preschool in Korea at a time when it was one of the poorest countries in the world, do you think he would have thought, hey, maybe one of my successors is in this room? So my message was, never tell a young person that they can't do something. Because that's what they were doing. They were laughing and saying, oh, come on, you can't be president of the World Bank. Never tell a young person they can't do something. And never fall prey to the idea that these things are impossible because of science. Right? If you bring the right moral conviction, the clarity of moral purpose, together with the science, there's no telling what you can do. And I have so much faith that the Korean people will figure out how to rise up and tackle these challenges in front of them. Now, it's my great pleasure to then start a conversation with my uncle. We hope to give you a flavor of the conversations we've been having for more than 60 years now together. He's been a mentor of mine forever. And we were so close to him that, that's him and me, right? In, I think, maybe 1963 or something like that. We liked him so much that we got really angry when he when he had a girlfriend who eventually became his wife. We constantly said, why are you spending time with her? You need to spend more time with us. They eventually got married, had children, but the conversation started then. Right? And before he comes up, I'll just tell you one last story. So some people have asked me, where did you get the sense of fighting injustice or the notion that you have to bring social justice into your work? And I tell people now, anyway, that it was my uncle. Because my uncle, when I was about 4 years old, he thought that it was so, that when I cried with so much passion and energy that he liked to see it. So one day he brought his camera, he hit me on the head, I started crying, and he took pictures because he loved that so much. And I think, ever since that day, my sense of injustice became very strong because I thought, how could he do that to me? But capturing my passion, capturing the passion to fight injustice is something that we've been talking about for 60 years. And so I'm not sure what the logistics are, but I'd like to invite my uncle to come up to have a conversation.
Dr. Kim, thank you very much. But I think we'll set the stage first for both of you. 네, 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드리도록 하겠습니다.
A big round of applause, please.
Second, as we set the stage, it would be much appreciated. Thank you. 네, 저희가 무대를 정리한
So we will set the stage and then move on to the talk.
speech. I believe that our audience has become very passionate about what you do in your work. 네, 너무나도 열정적인 강연을 해주셨는데요. 정말 깊은 통찰과 또 울림, 그리고 마지막으로 우리 모두에게 전달해 주신 교훈과 또 말씀, 메시지가 많이 있었던 강연이었습니다. 오늘 강연을 통해서 저희 기술과 성장의 시대 속에서도 정말 계속해서 우리가 잃지 말아야 하는 것은 공감하는 마음, 그리고 계속해서 꿈을 꾸는 사실, 그리고
So, in this era of technological advancement and growth, what we must never lose is our capacity to understand and empathize with one another. I think later on, Professor Chun can perhaps mention a bit more about the episode of him with young Jim Kim. So now,
the two gentlemen, Dr. Jim Yong Kim and Professor Chun Han, to the stage with a big round of applause. 네, 무대
so joining the dialogue is Professor Chun Han, a philosopher who graduated from the Department of Philosophy at Seoul National University and pursued further studies at Princeton Theology Seminary and the University of Chicago. A disciple of the eminent philosopher Paul Ricoeur, Professor Chun has long explored the intersection of Eastern and Western thought.
Thank you very much. Again, just apologies that we're doing this in English. 제 머리가 너무 나빠서 한국말로 못합니다. So we'll do this in English. But last night, I had this wonderful experience. Some of my uncle's former students came to see him, and they included Professor Lee Ji-hyuk, who's a descendant of Taege. And so I was sitting there with my uncle, philosopher, theologian, and these three brilliant philosophy professors. And I asked the same question that I'm asking today. Right? I asked them, you guys are the most brilliant 철학자들. You're the most brilliant philosophers. And in my view, part of what's happening in Korea is there is a profound loss of meaning. Young people don't think that their lives are going to be better than their parents. There's this sense that they'll never be able to find housing, that they'll never get into the right schools. There's this sense of a loss of optimism, a loss of meaning. And I looked at them and I said to all of them, don't you guys deal with meaning? Aren't you guys the ones who think about the meaning of life and what you're supposed to do? So in a sense, it was an unfair question, but they had some very interesting answers. And so I'm going to ask my uncle the same question. You know, I kind of feel like saying, 야, 이 철학자들 뭐 하고 있어요? What are you doing? What are you doing to help us move toward a world where people find meaning in a much more profound way now? 삼촌.
저들과 같이 나와서 얘기를
Right. So, I said that I will not try to show off too much, but also not try to downplay myself too much. And so, Dr. Kim next to me likes to say, Uncle, that's 개똥 철학, that's useless. A lot of the times when I say something. But that's because I'm a theologist. What's a theologist? A theologist learns about God, always searches for God. That's what a theologist does. When I think about the education system right now, to be honest, it's very unclear where God is, who God is. But when we say philosophy, it deals with our course of life. Do you know what God's name is? Everyone? That's what Moses asked. When we read old scriptures, it said that if you look at God, you die. Somebody appeared in front of Moses, and when Moses asked, "Who are you?" that entity said, "I am God." So then, Moses went around saying, I met God. But then other people, other peasants, asked him, what's the name of God? You didn't even get the name of God. So Moses asked God once again, please tell me your name, God. Then I will tell others that I met you.
그 말이 우리말로 뭐냐 하면
And in Korean,
나는 나다 그랬어요.
God said, I am me.
그다음부터 모세가 뭘 깨달았냐면요.
What did Moses realize here? I mean, of course you're you, I'm me.
나는 나 아니신 분 한번
Is there anyone here that's not yourself?
너는 너지만 나는 나예요. 그런데
You are you, and I am who I am.
이 문제적 균형과 조화
Today we talk about equilibrium, the conditions for a happy life, towards a fulfilling life here. That's the theme.
개똥철학 얘기 듣는 얘기인데 어느 사회이든
Oftentimes,
지금 우리가
people tell me that I have this shallow philosophy as a joke, but
지금 어떤 지경에 놓여 있다는 사실 보여주는데
when we look at the current state of society,
그러면 참 이거 엄청난 일 같죠.
and when we try to think about the solution for this state of society, it seems like a really big, grave task, right? But
우리나라 어떻게 살든 나이 뭐야
now, in my age right now,
보다도 못하구나 할지라도
even though somebody may say that your philosophy is pseudo and it doesn't make any sense, you just should say, I am who I am.
다 무너진 나라 같아도
And if we have people that all proclaim, I am who I am, it might not seem to make sense, but it will reclaim, rebuild a country. So yesterday over dinner, we had a very good conversation. And when we say Andong, we can of course think of Taege.
몸으로 제가 후계자입니다 해야 될 종친 수종친이라는
So we have Lee Chi-hyuk doctor, who is the descendant of Taege. And with that professor, we talked about how in Korea right now,
사람들이 사는 모습에 대한 얘기들이 많은데
there's so many things that we need to overcome in people's way of life.
그 밖에 말씀을
So that descendant of Taege
사실 있는 그들의 사실을 말씀해 주셔서 뭐라 그러냐면
stated
우리나라 사람들은요
that Koreans,
세상에 어떻게 들어가든
regardless of world affairs, have so many things to enjoy.
쫓아다니느라고 그거 사는 거 보면
Koreans love their leisure time,
남들에게 손가락을 잡수다냐고 우리 그 덕에 살고 있습니다 그러는데 저는 그 얘기
and others may point fingers, but that's the fun of life.
이거구나.
When he said that, I realized you really must be the descendant of Taege. When we think about the crux of Taege's philosophy,
지능학회에서 보이셔서 되게 스님한테 배웠다는데
I worked in the International Taege Hak
말 좀 해라. 그래서
Foundation, and
제가 이 작고하신 이근필 우리 지금 현 정신이 되신 분의 아버님이신데
the late Lee Geun-pil
드린 말씀 또 저에게 손수신
said something that stuck with me.
글에 보면 예인 조복 사회 중택 그런데 제가 이 글자는 8글자지만
It's 8 Korean letters,
놓치면요
and if you miss the 2 Korean letters at the first, the rest of the 6 don't matter.
놓치지 않으면
If you pay attention to the first 2 Korean letters,
풀리게 돼 있는
then you don't need to pay attention to the rest 6.
예인이 뭡니까?
So what's Yein?
사람 귀한가?
That is the first 2 letters. That means that people are precious. What people are we talking about here? I mentioned I am who I am, right? You guys are precious.
하는 소위
We're saying equilibrium, balance, and harmony, the conditions to life.
없으면 이거 아무리 우리가
If we don't have a key,
엄청난
No matter how we study, no matter how much we research, we're not going to find a solution. But if you have the key, no matter how difficult your situation may be, no matter how big of a hardship you think faces you, everything comes to you easy. When we look back in Korean history, our ancestors that walked this way of life, Korea unfortunately is still a divided country, but we're able to be a prosperous country right now because of our ancestors who walked that way of life. So let me wrap up here. Are you all living with the value, I am who I am? Do not forget that phrase. That is 예인. And people who live by this virtue do not belittle others, ignore others. They cannot, even if they try to. So let me wrap up here.
So this is how our conversations have gone for 60 years. I ask a question, and he gives me a sermon. 삼촌. We've now had this conversation many times before, but this idea, and you of course knew my father very well, how practical he was, right? What's your suggestion? How can we marry, the 나는 납니다, the declaration of your personhood, with the kinds of measures that we need to take? Is it education? Is it, what are the things that we need to really get at if we're going to move out of what is just there's no other way to describe it. It's a crisis. And although it's a crisis that not everyone feels, the potential collapse of the pension service, the National Pension Service is extremely well run. But at some point, they will face fewer and fewer people contributing to the pension service. It's extremely well run, extremely solid. But this kind of population situation has to affect it. And so how do we marry the big ideas with focused, effective action to tackle something that is so complicated?
나는 나라고.
So let's say the declaration of I am myself. My fellow mentioned that to elaborate that thought. So I mentioned to him that, so let's say if you get angry, if you want to die, or if you feel happy, all those emotions that you feel proves us that we are ourselves, and I am myself. When one thinks that the definition lies outside, so you may feel that you are not happy because you are poor. If the values lies outside externally, so for example, others make me angry. So first, you need to remember this thing. You are yourself. I am myself. I think that's the biggest lesson that we can learn from 퇴계. So let's say you're angry, you want to die, or if you feel happy. There are people that you love. All those emotions, the reason why you can feel that emotion is because you are yourself, and I am myself. And then that person told me that. So there is a reason behind that. So the one who lives his life as himself or herself may feel sadness and feel happiness. Get angry because you live your life as yourself. So whenever you feel those emotions, and the problem arises when you think that you need to become someone else, not yourself. So for example, do I have to live like Yong Kim? I've never done so, or let's say Mr. Jim ask himself that he needs to live like me. So that people nowadays say that the younger generation are rude or so, but every effort that we make needs to have some purpose. While not recognizing myself, I'm 83 and I looked back on my life and I just lived. So I met 퇴계 이황 while reading his book. And I really love classroom because that is the place where students learn, and I can learn from my students. And while reading the books together, I could realize the things that I didn't know. And the reason why I stayed in school for so long is because I've learned from my students a lot. I know there are many teachers and many people are here, and you are all my teachers. So the reason why I'm saying this is because I know that the message that I'm giving to you is not useless. The reason why I'm up on stage is because of this.
I'm done.
So, you were here teaching for 12 years. You have so many students in the audience, and not in the audience, but you have so many students here in Korea. And so, how the concepts are powerful that you're talking about, but how does this conversation get started? Right? I mean, Korea has done so well in harnessing science and technology for incredible economic growth, right? Have done so well in creating new art forms, K-pop, K-dramas. This is known throughout the world. Has been so successful at that, right? But bringing the conversation we had last night and you have with your students to a broader audience, that's kind of the point of this whole meeting, right? This is never easy to do in any country. And, in places where, for example, there's an official religion for a country, sometimes you don't have to have this discussion because it's so clear, Islamic law, Sharia law, things like that. But Korea is now a religiously and ideologically diverse country, lots of people with lots of different views. How would you start this conversation that grounds the discussion in the science, an understanding of what's actually happening with the demographics here in Korea, with these broader arguments, and not the arguments, but these broader concepts that will help people get to the point of saying, yeah, 나는 납니다.
여러분들 제조컵.
So look at my cousin. Do you know who he is? He is Korean. And he's Korean like me. He's not that different from me. Uncle and cousin, they are the same. But nevertheless, he is 60 years old, but he dedicated his life. So I always learn from him. He is always passionate and enthusiastic to achieve what he's given to achieve. And I've learned a lot from him. So how did I live? So you may think of me as a person who achieved nothing, but at the same time, I've done my best to do the things that I need to do. So people often say to me that, and my wife always say to me, who I respect the most, and she wanted me to say this to you. And she said, you need to tell them blah, blah. So he is the former president of World Bank, and Dr. Jim Yong Kim. And I know that he invested a lot of time to think about the challenges that we face nowadays, all those complicated challenges. I know those messages are excellent, but we need to find a key to solve those problems. Even though the issues are challenging and complicated, we have the key within ourselves. So after the Confucius, after 100 years, there's Mencius born. And if you read the book of Mencius, he once mentioned this thing. Let's say you want to do something, that it means 과욕지 지상. That's a good thing. Having the passion to do something is a good thing. But there's another word called 욕자. You shouldn't be greedy, but Mencius mentioned that having the feeling of wanting to do something is a good thing. And he added this word. 유절이지신. So within human body, there lies belief. So the one thing that we can believe in is ourselves, and that's the words of Mencius. And Twege taught us all those things to us. And I guess he proved that word by living his life. I guess you may know this well, but early on, Twege lost his parents and lived a difficult life. But at the same time, he realized the essence of life and taught us with the great message. I think Andong is an excellent city, a surprisingly magnificent city. And it is not that difficult to practice what Mencius says. So all those people in Andong achieved that, and I would like to thank you all for listening through my talks.
오케이. 여러분들 저에게
If you have any questions, please do ask away. I'll be happy to answer.
너무 좋습니다.
Great, great. You all got my message. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. I just want to say that that this is an incredibly important forum, right? I think that this is the kind of place where we can have these discussions about how we shape the future of this country. And everyone in the world now knows about Korea. They know about Korean food, about K-pop, about K-drama, about Samsung phones. Everyone knows about Korea. But also, everyone is now learning about the demographic, the suicide. Everyone now knows about that too. And so everyone's watching closely because this is the first country that went from poor to wealthy and then now is facing a demographic crisis that literally every other country in the world will also face eventually. So how the Korean people tackle this problem and how the Korean people find solutions, I think will once again lead the world into the future. And again, Chairman Lee Gi-bum, this is the kind of conversation that you probably can only have here. And it shouldn't just be, 철학자들. It shouldn't just be philosophers or intellectuals. We need to bring, policymakers and physicians and whoever can be part of the conversation so that we find a language that can bring moral commitment, moral clarity, the ideas of Taege and the ideas of the great thinkers in Korea, together with what we know about the science and what Korea can do. So I'm so grateful for being here. It's my first time here. I really do think this forum could be the place where these conversations happen in a powerful way. Thank you very much for letting me participate.
Thank you very much to the two gentlemen. Please give them another big round of applause. 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 정말 두 분의 깊이 있는 말씀 잘 새겨 들었고요.
Thank you very much for your insightful words. As Dr. Kim just said, this forum is the platform where we can find solutions. For Korea in Korea, we should find our own Korean solution and spread it to the rest of the world. Thank you very much to our Dr. Kim and Dr. Jun for being here with us. We will end the opening ceremony here. Thank you very much for being here with us until the very end. This has been Jo Ju-yeon. Thank you very much, everyone.